Hi and welcome. Today's video topic is low content book Amazon advertising. I will just share the video and play it for you now. Enjoy.
Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to go over Amazon advertising, or AMS ads as it used to be called. Now, when it comes to low content books, AMS ads are pretty much the secret weapon of anyone doing this full time, because it really allows you to get those products in front of the customers without waiting for the organic search results to come. So what does that mean? It basically means that if you're pushing low content books, for example, a journal, a notepad, something like that, it's going to take a little bit of time in order to get those initial organic sales and then start ranking higher and higher for your search keywords. However, you can get those in front of people immediately through spending a little bit of money through Amazon advertising and getting in front of people right away, so you know, is that book going to be a good seller? Yes or no, and then tweak those different ads. Now, before we get into this, let me just reiterate what we went over in the past videos. We talked a lot about creating low or no content books. So what does that mean? That basically means you're creating books where the customer that buys them is interacting with the book, and they're not reading paragraphs, they're not reading stories, but they're interacting with it. So they get a book, they open it up, and they write it. Maybe they draw in it, maybe they log something down in it. Okay, so these are books that people will consume and then hopefully purchase more of in the future, whether that's they filled up their journal, or they did the full activity book and they want the next one in the series, so on and so forth. So running ads for these is very, very important. Now I want you guys to think, before we jump into this, think of ads as kind of like little money machines, okay? So the goal here is to put in $1, you put $1 in this little money machine and you get $2 or $3 back. Okay, so basically the more money you put in, the more money you get out. That is the goal. Now, in order to get to that, you're going to have to play around with this quite a bit. You're going to have to tweak your ads. You're going to have to change them from automatic to manual. Now we're going to go into that in depth. But think about it at a very basic level as you want to start a money machine, okay? Because once you tweak them and once you get them working, you have them running on autopilot. All you need to do is come in every few days, check them out, make sure they're all still running smoothly, and then it's all good to go. So let's go ahead and hop into Amazon here, and let's open up Amazon. So I've opened up an Amazon.com page here, and let's just type in Sudoku book, because I can show you a good example there. So we'll go Sudoku puzzle book for adults, Sudoku puzzle book. Let's just go with that. All right, so when a customer lands on this page, not you or I, but when a customer lands on this page, they're often going to be what is called ad blind. They're not going to recognize that there's so many ads on this Amazon page. So what do I mean by that? If you guys scroll down, you'll notice the first book here and the second book here both have bestseller tags on them. But what customers and people shopping on Amazon really don't see or understand or even think about is that these are actually sponsored results. If you look right below the image, you'll see that this is an ad right here. This is an ad right here. Okay, so there's two ads. All these at the top, these are ads. And then the third result is actually the first organic result, the first one that is ranking organically on Amazon, not these first two. But that's not the only ads that are being run on this page. We scroll down, okay, we'll see that, here's that book showing up again. That is being an ad. We'll keep scrolling down, boom, here's a sponsored ad right here. We'll keep scrolling down, all right? You don't see any sponsored, not yet. This is a long page, right in the middle of the page. So you'll see where my scroll bar is over here, right in the middle. There are 3 more sponsored ads showing up, okay? These are not organic results. Someone is paying Amazon to display these inside of the results on Amazon. So what I'm trying to get at is they will show up at the very beginning, okay? They will show up right here in the middle. And then if you keep scrolling down, they are typically ads at the very end as well. And there they are, 4 at the very bottom. Now, why is this important? It's important because, when you first start creating low content books, you're not going to show up on this first page. And we can scroll down here and see there's at least 7 pages. And if we scroll up, there's 6,000 plus results. There's probably going to be a little bit more than 7 pages. But if you want to test that book quickly and get it up on Amazon and see, hey, are people actually going to buy it? Then ads are a great way to go. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into actually how to create these ads. Now, before I jump into the KDP account, if you guys are listening to this, watching this, getting stuck anywhere, maybe I'm talking a little too fast, if you go to bookbolt.io, I wrote a gigantic article going probably further in depth than we're going to go today. But if you head over to the blog, all right, we'll let this load in, scroll down until you see right here, how to run Amazon ads for KDP low content book ads in 2020. I have not updated the date yet, but all of this, I promise, is still relevant. If you click into this article, it is ginormous with tons of examples and step-by-step on how to go through and optimize everything. So if you get stuck at any point, just go back and reference this article. It's very long, it's very in-depth. It's going to help you not only create these ads, but really optimize them, because that is the name of the game when it comes to these ads that you're going to be creating. Is you can't just set up an ad and expect it to work right away. You have to set up an ad, test products out, test how they're doing, and then come back to them and tweak them here or there. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing is, let's go hop into KDP here, and you'll notice, this is the KDP dashboard. You're probably all very familiar. Now, at this point, you should probably have a few low content books up and for sale. You created them, you put them for sale, and you'll notice that they are live. Okay, now one of the perks of using AMS or Amazon advertising is that it's available for everyone. If you have a KDP account, you can advertise your books. And this is how easy it is. You find a book, so let's just use this one. It's showing up number 1, blood pressure logbook. I use this as another example in another video. It's live, it's $5.99, and as you can see, we can view it on Amazon. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll close some of these other tabs out. Here it is. All right, so just very, very simple. $5.99, here's the book. Very simple book, right? So we want to advertise this book. I'm going to go through an example of how to do that. So in order to set up your first ad, all you have to do is click on the 3 little dots to the right of the book and click on promote and advertise. So everyone has access to this feature if you have a KDP account. So we'll go ahead and click that. Now this is the first page you're brought to, okay? So it says, hey, we're going to promote your book on Amazon. We need to set up an ad campaign. Now I'm going to just make an assumption that most of the books, most of the volume that you're selling is in the Amazon.com marketplace, so the United States marketplace. However, if you published a book on KDP before, you know that they can go to multiple marketplaces. Maybe you have a bestseller that's in German or over in the UK market. But in order to set up a campaign, you have to pick one market to promote your books to. So you'll see a little drop-down menu here. This will be grayed out until you pick something. We can choose a marketplace. See, you'll see .com, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, and Australia. For most of you, you're probably going to be picking .com. It's got the most traffic. It's typically got the most sales. But just for your information, if you have a book that's doing well in another country, you might want to pick another one of these. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're doing this. So let's pick .com, and we will click Create Ad Campaign. All right, so this is going to be the next page you see. This is actually inside of Amazon advertising. You'll see at the very top it says advertising.amazon.com. This is going to be specifically for your KDP account. Now it's going to give you 3 options at the very top. You'll have sponsored products, you'll have sponsored brands, and you'll have lock screen ads. So let's actually start from the right instead of the left and work our way to the left. So lock screen ads, as you can see, it's just going to tell you what they are. These ads are based on shoppers' interests and are shown when they unlock their Kindle e-readers or Fire tablets. So think to yourself for a second, this might make a lot of sense if you're doing long-form content books that you're selling, aka stories and things like that. But we're specifically talking about low-content books. No one's going to open up their Kindle e-reader and start filling out a journal, all right? No one's going to start logging down their mileage for their car for tax purposes. So you can automatically just kind of throw this to the back seat. We're not going to be doing that. You might want to take a look at this if you're doing actual books that people are reading, but for our purposes, we're not going to do that. Sponsored brands here. Okay, so I played around with this a little bit. If you are actively building a brand on KDP, this can be very helpful. It helps shoppers discover your brand and products on Amazon because you can put in more than one creative. But the ones we want to pay attention to and that work really well to create those little money machines are all the way to the left, sponsored products. You'll see a little image of what Amazon kind of looks like. These are exactly what we were seeing in the Amazon search results. Okay, so this is how you show up at the front of the results, the middle of the results, and the end of the results. Okay, so those are called sponsored products. That's why they have that sponsor tag under them. But right here it just says promote products to shoppers actively searching with related keywords. That is what we're about. So we'll go ahead and select sponsored products here on the left. Now this is going to open up the page to start a new campaign. If this is your first time running any sort of Amazon advertising, this might look a little bit complicated. I promise you, when you first start, it looks complicated, but in reality, it's very, very easy. So let's go through each individual kind of box here. I'll kind of walk you through it, how to set up your very first one. So let's go ahead and do that. For the campaign name, this is not something that any customers on Amazon will see. This is literally just so you have a point of reference when you log into your advertising account and kind of take a look at the campaigns you're running. So we can just say, this is a blood pressure logbook. We can just say, BP campaign. Super simple. Doesn't need to be difficult. We're running a campaign for blood pressure logbook. Now, this is what I often see people do, and I have made this mistake as well. So if you take anything from this video, you'll see a start date. Now that is the start date I am making this video on. And by default, there's no end date. You must put an end date, okay? You need to do that because if you set up an advertising campaign and then you forget to check, or maybe you come back 6 months later and you're like, wow, where did all my money go? Is because it's been spending on these campaigns and you didn't set an end date. So what I would recommend is that you run a campaign for a week or two. Okay, so let's just go ahead, click on that box, and we'll say, let's back this up to, I don't know, March 9th. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of time there, a week and some days. But at least we set an end date so we know that eventually, if this campaign doesn't work out for us, or even if it does, it will end, and then we can analyze the results. So the next is daily budget. Okay, so you'll see right here, each one of these has a tooltip in it. This is the amount you're willing to spend on a campaign each day. Don't come in here and put in some crazy budget. Remember what I said at the very beginning? You have to test out campaigns. You have to try different things. So I always recommend putting in a really low budget. I'm talking $2 to $5. Okay, so you can come in here and say, hey, $3. It'll spend $3 per day for this many days, about 9 days. Okay. Now, the last one in the settings, okay, is targeting. You have automatic targeting and you have manual targeting. So with automatic targeting, what Amazon is going to do is it's going to read your title, your bullet points, your description, your back-end keywords, and they're going to run ads for all of that, okay? It's kind of Amazon taking the information from your book and running ads for it. That is always, always, always what I recommend you do at the very beginning. Because at the very beginning, you're not sure what keywords actually lead to sales. Okay? Manual targeting is where you're going to add your own keywords that you know lead to sales, and then you're going to run that just for those keywords. So let me slow that down and make this a little easier for you guys to understand. When you first start a campaign for a book, you want to do automatic targeting. You want to run it for a week or two. You're basically paying Amazon to run ads and get data back. Okay, so they're going to tell you what keywords they showed your ad for, how many people clicked on that ad for what keyword, and if they converted or not. So you're going to run that for a week or two, and then once this campaign is ended, you're going to go back in Amazon, run a report, and then you're going to take those keywords, go back into Amazon advertising, and create a manual campaign. What that's going to do is it's going to make sure that the money you're spending is just going to show your product for keywords you know convert. So it's basically going to take that little money machine and just throw it into overdrive. Okay, so we're going to start with automatic targeting because that's the very, very easiest to set up. And that's what you guys should be doing at the very beginning. So now let's scroll down and it says campaign bidding strategy. Remember when we were back on Amazon, I was showing you those Sudoku books. And at the very beginning, you have a couple products sponsored. At the very middle, you have some sponsored products. And at the very end, you have some sponsored products. The sponsored products work like an auction. Okay, so the people who spend the most per click are going to show up number 1 and 2. People who are kind of spending in the middle will typically be shown in the middle of the search results, and the people who have very low spend are going to end up at the very end. They're still on the front page, but they're not going to be showing up number 1. That's going to be the person who wins the auction, who is spending the most per click. Now you have some options here, okay? So you have dynamic bids down only, and this is going to tell Amazon, hey, they're going to lower the bids in real time if it's less likely to convert. So this is a little bit out of order because you set your cost per click at the bottom. But just to kind of make sense of all this, dynamic bids are Amazon will charge less per click if they think it's less likely to convert. By default, you're basically telling Amazon that you're willing to spend more or less if it's likely to convert. I highly recommend you change this because this is default. This will end up spending your budget way quicker because if you set your cost per click at say $1, you're basically saying you're willing to let Amazon raise that by 100% to $2 instead. And when you're setting low budgets like we are, doesn't really make sense. So you can either have fixed bids where every single click is going to be the same amount of spend. You can have it be the cost per click that you set is going to be what you spend or what you set it at or less, or you can do up and down. So I always do down only. So whatever you set your cost per click at is the maximum you can spend per click. But if it's less likely to convert for a sale, you're not going to spend as much because Amazon is going to automatically lower that for you. Now there's some options in here where you can adjust bids by placement, okay? If you're just starting out and it's your first time, I would not touch this. I would just keep it at automatic targeting. I wouldn't even look at that. Okay, but you can come in here and you can see that, hey, it applies to different bids by placement by entering a percentage increase to your default bid. What this is really saying is that it's going to increase the bid in order to get, to the top of search. So you can see this top of search first page or product pages. It just helps you trying to get to the top. But that's not what you're doing when you're running automatic ads. You're trying to get data in order to make sure your ads convert. So next we'll come down and we'll notice, all right, there's 2 different ad formats. You have custom text ads where you can add stuff and give customers a glimpse of your book, or a standard ad. So with custom text ads here, you can actually, if you hover over, say, here's a few actual long form content books I have in this account. It says custom text ads can only be used for different formats of the same book. So since we don't have different formats of this book, it's only one book, what you'd want to do is select standard ad. But just to go over real quick, if you have a custom text ad and you have different forms of the same book, let's say you have an ebook and a paperback, you can then select both of those, which would show up here. You can then scroll down and you could actually enter in custom text that would show up on the ad. However, when I'm setting these up, typically, I won't even do custom ads. I'll typically do standard ads just because it's way easier. And remember, again, we're getting data. We're doing automatic targeting for $3 a day. So we're not spending drastic amounts of money here. We're just trying to get data from Amazon. So go ahead and pick standard ad. Now at the bottom here, it's going to ask you to create an ad group. Ad groups are essentially groups of ads that will show up in your Amazon advertising account. Now you can add a name, whatever you want here. So BP log. Okay, we're only going to set this as one book. You see that I've searched for the product and I have added the product over here. So everything is good to go. We'll scroll down and here is what I'm talking about: automatic targeting. Okay, so remember how I said that this was all very out of place. First, they ask you to pick the bidding strategy without actually setting the bids. And this is where you set how much you should spend per click. This is kind of your introduction to the auction of Amazon ads. So they'll allow you to do two things. One, set a default bid or set bids by targeting a group. So targeting groups using multiple strategies to match your ads to shoppers looking for your products. If you're doing automatic campaigns, I would just keep it at default bids. If you select this, you can change the bid for how close of a match the keywords they're going to run actually are to the audience. Okay, I know this looks confusing, but my suggestion is when you're starting out doing this, just keep it at default bids. Okay, that's going to be the very easiest way to get this started. So by default, you'll see they say, hey, I'm going to set it at 75 cents. Now they suggest in order to, get the most traffic and aka spend the most money, they suggest $1.08. So you'll see a range here, the default of 75. The way I do my ads and what works really, really well for me is, again, we're trying to get data. We have set a $3 daily budget. Okay, if we keep this at 75 cents, or if we raise it to $1.08, let's just say it's $1.08, we're only going to get 2 or 3 clicks per day. That is not enough data to make a decision and see what keywords are leading to sales, what keywords are not leading to sales, so that we can come in and optimize those. So when you first sit down and you look at this and you go, oh, they're recommending $1.08, maybe I should just put that in there. No, Amazon is trying to get you guys to spend more money because they make that money, and they make money when you make sales. What we want is the data to optimize these ads. So what I always recommend is start it pretty low. Okay, I'm talking 20 to 30 cents. So you could come in here and put 0.25. So that means each time someone clicks my book, they might not buy, right? But every time someone sees it in the results and clicks it, you will spend 25 cents or less. The reason I say or less is because we pick dynamic bids down only. So if it's less likely to convert for a sale, Amazon will actually lower that bid from 25 cents, okay? And they might do it even lower than that. So dynamic bids down only, that is why I always pick that. So coming down here, we'll set it at 25, and then we have some optional settings. Okay, we have optional negative keyword targeting and optional negative product targeting. If you are running ads that are automatic, I would just simply leave these alone. Okay, because what you're going to do, the whole strategy behind this that works really, really well, is you run automatic ads, you gather up information, and then that information is what you use to come in and set manual campaigns. Okay, so that is, I would simply leave these two blank and click launch campaign. That'll bring you right here. It says, congratulations, you successfully created your campaign and it's pending approval. Okay, so it can take a little while for them to run. Right here, you'll see that it takes up to 72 hours. A lot of the time is a lot faster than that. However, they need to actually look at your ad and make sure, yes, I didn't break any rules, so on and so forth. And then obviously you will see these ads start getting impressions and clicks. So that is the easiest way to set up your very first campaign. I would not go out and start creating automatic campaigns for every single book you have up, okay? Because you don't want to spend a ton of money. You just want to learn the system. So I'd pick maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 books that you either have sales on or you think are going to be really good sellers. Go through, set these campaigns up, automatic targeting. You don't want to spend very much for your daily budget. And then you're going to get Amazon showing your ad, and then you'll see clicks and everything like that. Now, when you set these up, once they start running, you just hover over this left-hand menu here. You'll see your campaigns, you'll see your reports. So right here, I just brought myself over to the campaigns tab, if you will, okay? So on the campaigns tab, you'll see this one right here says it is delivering. This is what we just set up. This is another one that I used, for example, in another video that I turned off. But you can come in here and once you start getting data for your books, they will start graphing it right here. And if we go ahead and we click inside of this campaign, you will see right here, this is the one we just set up. So again, we'll click on that ad group, and then we will see this is the book, and then it's pending review. Okay, once you've passed pending review, this will actually change to active, and then you'll start getting information in here. You'll get information on how much you're spending, how many orders you got, how many sales you got, ACoS, this is advertising cost of sales, okay? And then as well as how many pages were read if you're doing an ebook, something like that. So you'll want to let those run for a week or two. You know, after those have ran, what you want to do is you want to log back into Amazon Advertising, go inside of your KDP account, okay? Open this back up, hover over that left sidebar, and you want to run a report. So let's go ahead and click on this reports tab. And it will look just like this, okay? So it'll say create report. So we'll click create report, and you want to actually run a report for the ads you've run. So these are the options, right? It says campaign type, sponsored products. Report type, you can get search terms, targeting, advertising product, campaign, placement, and performance over time. If you're only running this for 1 or 2 books, you can just keep it at search terms. Otherwise, I do campaign right here and pick the right campaigns. But what you want to do is run this report. Okay, you want a summary over however long your book was run. Okay, so you can probably just keep this at 30 days if this is your first time doing it. And down here, it's going to say, hey, these are the reporting settings. It's going to give you a name. You know, you can put in an email address if you want and say right now. At the very top, instead of putting it at the bottom where it would be, you know, fairly straightforward, they actually put the button at the very, very top. So then you would click run report. Okay, so we go ahead and click that. It's not going to pull anything back because I haven't actually run anything on this specific account. But you'll look at this and you'll say, look, it's processing. And then once it's done processing, you'll be able to download it. It's going to be a spreadsheet. Okay, so what you'll want to do is go through and look at each campaign that you ran. It will give you a breakdown of information of the keywords that Amazon decided to run against your book. Okay, so when a customer typed in a specific keyword and it showed up and someone clicked it, but it didn't lead to a sale, then you can completely ignore that. What you want to do is go through that list and pick out just the keywords that got clicks that led to sales. Okay, let me say that again. You want to go through the list and pick out the keywords that people clicked and that actually led to a sale. There's going to be a lot of other keywords in there that either didn't get clicked or that Amazon ran you know, your product against that keyword that led to nothing. That you spent some, maybe you spent some money on it, didn't lead to any sales. That's good, right? Why do I say that's good? Yeah, you spent a little bit of money, but you learned what keyword don't convert. So take the keywords that got clicks, led to sales, and then save those somewhere, okay? So once those are saved, we're talking maybe like a week or 2 down the line. You're gonna come back in here, okay? You're gonna go to campaigns. You're going to create a new campaign. Click the new campaign here. You're gonna be brought to the same screen that you should be used to by now if you followed the previous instructions here. Again, we're gonna do the same thing, sponsored products, continue. We're gonna let this load in. We're gonna give it a name, make this name different. What I will usually do is I'll come in here and I'll say maybe BP, you know, log, and then I'll put this in and say, hey, this is a manual campaign. Remember, we ran automatic targeting. We got the data. Now we really want to optimize this product. Okay, so we'll come in here and we'll say, this is a blood pressure log, it's a manual campaign, and this date will be different because, again, remember, we're thinking into the future here, a couple weeks. But, you know, again, set an end date to this stuff because you want to make sure it works. Let's just say March 31st. We're making this one a little longer. Now, at this point, I recommend keeping the daily budget low as well, okay? Because we found the keywords that convert, but we don't automatically want to set this to $100 a day because they may have converted once and then, you know what, maybe they're not converting again. Maybe they just converted to that one customer. You really want to make sure. So again, you know, $2 to $5. Maybe this one I'll do $5. And then this is the big one. We already have the data, so don't pick automatic targeting. Come down here and click manual targeting. Now the funny thing is, if you pick automatic targeting, they have dynamic bids up and down as default, but if you click manual, all of a sudden it is the right one. Okay, so again, we'll come down here, dynamic bids down only. That's what I always pick. Works really, really well. Custom ad text, I always do standard for the most part. We'll scroll down, it's going to say, hey, create an ad group. So I'll go ahead and create an ad group, and I'll just say, BP manual, or maybe BP log manual. Products, blood pressure. We'll let that load in here. There it is. All right, so we click add, which will add it to the right side. This is what you're going to run an ad against, so it's been added. Scroll down, and now you start seeing some different options. Okay, so these options are going to look different for you. So it's going to say, hey, there's two ways to do this. You can do keyword targeting, so you choose the keywords. It'll help your product appear in shopper searches. It's a long way of saying, keywords they're going to run ads for when a customer searches for it. Or product targeting. Okay, choose specific products, categories, brands, or other products to target your ads. Essentially, this is going to be a more advanced technique, something I highly recommend you get into once you learn the very basics. Okay, so we're talking about basics of advertising. Once you have the data, again, I go over this a lot more in that blog post, but I always recommend if this is, you're pretty new to running ads on Amazon, start with keyword targeting. It's going to be the easiest because you already have that data, right? Okay, so we'll just keep it at keyword targeting. And then, again, a lot of this stuff has tooltips. So I highly recommend you guys just come in here and play around. You don't have to launch an ad. You can just come in here and see, hey, what are all these options? You can learn more. It'll open up a new page to talk to you about this. So you just, for example, this is what it would look like. Tons of different options. And it's like, hey, use the strategy when you know the search terms. That's what we're going to do because we know the search terms. We ran an automatic campaign first. This strategy right here, you want to use this to help shoppers find your product when browsing detail pages and categories or searching products on Amazon. Basically, what this does is it helps you run ads against other people's products. Okay, if you just sit there and think about that for a minute, that's huge because if there's a bestseller in your niche, you can basically piggyback that traffic by running product targeting campaigns. But I digress. Keep it at keyword targeting and let's move on. So at the bottom here, you're going to see the keyword targeting box. This is the big box. This is what you guys want to pay attention to. There's suggested keywords. Okay, you can upload a file of keywords or you can enter in your own list. Okay, so you'll see match types here. Real quick before we dive into this, I can just read this off the screen, which is probably the easiest. Exact match is it's only going to run those ads if someone types in the keyword exactly the way you write it down. Okay, that's different from, say, phrase or broad because phrase needs to contain the exact phrase or sequence of keywords. So, I mean, just off the top of my head, if you put in, blood pressure journal, and someone typed in blood pressure journal notebook, that would be a phrase. That would be phrase match, right? It's just a little bit longer, but it contains the same phrase, so they'd run that ad. Broad is, contains all of the keywords in any order. So if they typed in something that contained blood pressure notebook, but in any order, maybe it's like a string of 10 characters, 10 words, it would still run it. So the first thing I usually do, because remember, we have this list, we have the exact list of things that we know convert because we ran an automatic campaign first. But the first thing I'll do is I'll actually just look at the suggested ones and I'll say, hey, out of that report that we ran, are any of these in there that can actually convert it? And they'll tell you, I mean, look at this. Let me scroll down a little bit so you guys can see this. Blood pressure logbook, blood pressure log, blood pressure journal, blood pressure journal logbook, blood pressure chart. So all of these, funny enough, let me just open up what I have on the computer here. Did these start to look, pretty similar? I actually did this research, with BookBolt, and I put them in a thing. Blood pressure chart, okay? Blood pressure journal, that's probably in here too. It wasn't in here, that's actually what I named the book. That's what I saw pop up, blood pressure journal, blood pressure log. You'll start to see, here's log, here's blood pressure. All of these are showing up as suggested bids. So what you want to do is go in here, see if you missed it. See if some are showing up here that did not show up in your automatic report that you ran against your first ad, okay? So you can come in here and the first thing you can do, is you'll see suggested bid here. You can set custom bids for any of these. I'm just going to do suggested bid. And let's say I want to do just exact. I always find the most success with exact or phrase. I typically don't pick broad. Okay, but you can come in here and say, all right, blood pressure journal logbook. I can add the phrase or I could add the exact. Okay, if I'm doing the exact, it says, hey, add a suggested bid here. Maybe I want to keep it at 30 cents. Okay, and then I'll add it over here. Blood pressure journal logbook, the phrase is saying I should bid 123. I can just change these, okay? 0.3, I don't want to spend that much. Keep coming down, keep coming down. You know, I could do medicine logbook. I could add the exact phrase. Now, notice how if I did that, which was right, medical logbook, the phrase has a suggested bid, but the exact doesn't. Okay, so if you add one that doesn't, you can just add it in as you want. Or if you add the phrase, maybe it already has a bid in there, which again, you can change if you want. So super, super easy. You pick out the keywords that you think will convert, okay? Just go through this list. This right here, this list is amazing. It's going to pick out words that you might have not even thought of that someone would search in order to purchase your book. Now, I'm doing a blood pressure logbook, okay? So all of these are going to be medical related. If you are doing a book on cows, this is going to be totally different list. This is what Amazon's going to recommend. Okay, so go through the list, check out what you want to add, what you don't want to add. What I am going to do though, is remember we have the data from our automatic book. So go through this is great to look at, but what I recommend is go to enter list. And I usually will get rid of phrase and I will just do exact. Okay, so again, I have some keywords right here. Let's just say, for example purposes, that I'm just going to paste these in here. These keywords right here, exact match, are the ones that worked. They're the ones that someone clicked on and purchased a book for. So I don't want people searching broadly. I know that if someone enters in exactly what showed up in that ad report and it led to a sale, that's the only ads that I want to run. Okay, so you run an automatic campaign, you go in, you run a report, you see which keywords got clicked and led to sales, and then you take those keywords and you create a manual campaign just with those keywords. So let's say that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm going to delete these and say, hey, these are the keywords I want to use, exact match, add keywords, 30 cents for each one of them. Now you can come in here and change them if you knew one led to sales more than the other. But that's what I would do. I just have 5 keywords in this campaign. Again, for example purposes, your list is going to look different depending on what your report says, okay? But on keyword targeting, suggested list, this is great to go through, but I always enter a list and I keep it exact because I know those exact keywords or phrases, as they are written, lead to sales. So that's what you want to pick, okay? When you first get into this. Now, once you start to see that this is working for you, and you're playing around and you're tweaking your budget and you're tweaking your bids, okay, then you can come in and start playing around with all this stuff because there's a lot you can do with AMS. So let's scroll down. Again, you have negative keyword targeting. This is helpful once you are a little bit more advanced, but when you're starting your first manual, again, I'd probably ignore it, okay? And then all you have to do, launch campaign. That's it. And this campaign is going to function similar to the automatic, except it's only going to run ads for these keywords or whatever keywords you put in there, okay? So we'll go ahead and click launch campaign here. And there you go. Congratulations, you successfully created your campaign. So it's really not that many steps in order to get these set up. Now, let's go ahead and go back before we end up finishing this up and talk about one last thing. Let's go into campaigns here. Now, every single time you are running a campaign, you don't just want to let them run forever. Okay, so we'll come into this campaign and we'll see, hey, this is that first automatic that we're running, right? We'll come in here and we'll see, all right, so it's still pending review. But if all of a sudden you see your automatic campaign, you know, spending your $3 every single day, you're not getting any orders, you're not getting any sales, you might want to go in and edit that campaign, drop your CPC, drop your cost, maybe drop your budget per day, okay? So it's not a set it up and forget it sort of thing. It's to set it up and monitor it and change it. If you have an automatic campaign that's spending, a couple dollars a day, but you're getting 5 to 10 sales, awesome. What is that? Should you just leave that alone? No, you should probably spend more money because it's working. It's working. So every single, I would say 2 to 3 days, log in, look at what is happening. You always want to know what your statistics look like, okay? So let's just go right back to the beginning, and then I'm going to talk about a really cool strategy. It's a little bit more advanced, but I think you guys should know about it. So let's just back up to the beginning. The first thing you want to do, log into Amazon advertising for your KDP account, promote a book. Okay, so that is going to bring you to this page right here. So create campaign. It's actually going to bring you to this page when you click on it from KDP. You want to set up a sponsored products ad. You want to do automatic targeting, and you want to let Amazon run it. Set a lower budget, okay, run it for a week or 2. After that, you want to pull your reports. You do that on the left side, reports, pull your report, see what keywords got clicked and led to sales. And then you want to come back into Amazon advertising, set up a sponsored product campaign, and instead of doing automatic, you want to set up a manual campaign with just those keywords. And I promise you just that can change your KDP business, because once you get in there and you start tweaking that stuff around, it's going to make a money machine. So you put $1 in, you get 2 or 3 out. That's the whole goal here. Now, before I jump off, I want to show you one more really cool thing that you can do with all sorts of books. It doesn't have to be low content books. So let's go back to Amazon. I'm going to go back to Amazon proper. I'm going to type in, Sudoku book. Sudoku book, and you will see this. We just looked at this page earlier, but I want to bring up one crucial point here. Okay, what's the first thing you guys notice? Okay, I see 2 sponsored product ads. Most customers aren't going to see that, but this is a very, very good technique in order to kind of create, I would say, a monopoly. Okay, so this is definitely a more advanced technique. I rarely see people talking about this, but I think it's the coolest thing ever. Okay, because what do you see here? You see 1,000 plus Sudoku puzzles easy to hard in the first spot. So the #1 result is going to typically get clicked the most. It's just the way Amazon works. Okay, most Amazon shoppers are going to buy probably 1 through 4, 1 through 3. They're going to buy from the top list here because Amazon, trusted marketplace, they trust that these books are going to sell. The second thing I see here is a Sudoku book, medium to hard, okay, Sudoku for adults. And I noticed that this is under a name Catherine Hunter, and this one's under Charles Timmerman and Funster. So 2 different brands, okay? This is the first organic result, and this is the second organic result. But wait a minute. This is the first result because they're paying to show up, and it's working so well that they're now showing up organically at the top of search again. So what I have been doing on books that you could sell, a little bit more expensive price points at, for example, $12.30, this one's $10, just to get your wheels turning here. What I have done in the past that works extremely well is you want to launch maybe 2 to 3 books in the same niche. Okay, so the reason I show you this example is because it's really easy to kind of talk over. But 2 to 3 books. So if I were doing a Sudoku book, I would create 2 to 3 Sudoku books, different covers, different interiors. You want them to be completely different, right? And you'll put them up on KDP, and you will put them under different brands. Okay, because what you're going to do here is you're going to create your own little monopoly and give the illusion of choice for the customers on Amazon. So you'll put 3 books under different brands. Now, again, this technique that I'm about to tell you it's a little bit more advanced. You want to have a good understanding of Amazon ads before you jump into it. This is going to require you to run manual ads, okay? So backing up, you have 2 to 3 books in the same niche. Your goal is to get your first book in position 1 and your second book in position 2. Remember, 2 different brands, so they look like 2 different products, which they are. And then eventually you're going to get either the first organic position and the second organic position for all of your books. So you basically control this whole one. So how do you do that? You have 2 to 3 books in the same niche under different brands, okay? You start a manual campaign for keywords you know convert. And what you need to do is you'll play around with it to figure out what CPC, aka cost per click, you need to spend to show up number 1. Because, for example, if I was going into this niche and I knew I needed to spend $1 per click to show up number 1, this guy would automatically fall to number 2. This guy would just get kicked off, right? This guy would. So as long as I figure out what CPC I need to spend to end up number 1, I then just take my second book, again, in the same niche, I set up a manual campaign with that keyword, and I set the CPC at the exact same price as the first one. Okay, so now you have 2 books showing up 1 and 2, but what did you just do? You literally just kicked out these advertisers off the front page. Now you have 2 books here, okay? You're going to spend money on those ads. Hopefully they're converting at that point, right? Because you remember, it's a manual campaign. You know which keywords convert. And all of the sales from these ads, number 1 and 2, are going to push those books, or at least one of them, up to the top organic result. So you're going to control the whole front here. And that's exactly what this person did. That's why this is such a good example. They show up number 1. I don't know if number 2 is theirs or not, but they show up number 1. They made so many sales from it that it pushed up the search results, and it's now showing up as an organic seller as well. So when you sit down as a customer and you look at this right here, even if they did not have the second result, even these 2 books, they stand a 50% chance of making the sale because they're showing up twice. They're showing up twice. So that technique should get your guys' juices flowing a little bit. It's kind of hard to pull off. It's going to take some time to figure out how ads work, how to run them profitably. But once you've done that, you can start putting that into place, creating, here's the thing, right? Like what we went through is how to create automatic campaigns and manual campaigns. Once you feel comfortable with that, and you know how to take an automatic campaign, turn it into a profitable manual, you can start launching these for every single book you have. And it's just like you're setting up all these little money machines. You're putting in $1 in ad spend, you're getting $2 back. You're spending $1 in ad spend, you're getting $3 or $4 back in your pocket. You're paying to get in front of the customers you want. Now, again, it's only going to work if you have really good content, really good books. If you have, a terrible book with a terrible cover that no one wants, with misspellings all over the place, running ads probably isn't a very good idea. You're just going to be wasting money. But if you have stuff that's good, that people want, and you want to get in front of the audience, not 6 months from now, but right now, these are the ads you want to spend. So just to wrap it up, guys, go inside your KDP account and test these out, but set your budget fairly low because you don't want to waste a bunch of money and get discouraged. You might lose a little bit up front, but remember, you're getting data that you can use to run manual campaigns. If you guys get stuck at all, bookbolt.io, go to the blog, look for that super, super long article that I wrote about kind of how to optimize, how to run all of these, if I was speaking a little too fast, and just test it out. Guys, it's really all about testing the ads out and optimizing them. But once you get that down, you are going to blow past every other seller because most people are not spending money on ads. They're terrified of it. But I'm here to tell you, it's really not that hard. You just need to play around with it. So that's going to be all for this video. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But the big takeaway here is just try it. Just try it out, test it out, stick with it. And once you get a profitable campaign, then it's just a little money machine running all the time and putting money in your pocket. So it's going to be all. Appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in today. This video will be stored in the client area. And as always, if you have any questions, please email the help desk.